Mental health is.
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 The way things are portrayed in film and TV is extremely powerful in educating and influencing us as an audience. But most times, these portrayals are inaccurate. Mental health is one of those. Follow me as I explore more into how mental health is portrayed in film and TV.
I think with the right director and the right level of professionalism, mental health is portrayed really well, and with a lot of sophistication, a lot of education and stuff like that. But that's mostly if you're looking at films that have more people that dealing with mental illnesses that people can understand, because it's I'm talking about depression and anxiety, because lots of people understand that kind of thing. But let's say you're getting into something like a schizophrenic or paranoid schizophrenic, sometimes that can be a little bit over dramatized, and people who have those disorders often find issue with it. But other than that, I think it's alright. It's alright. It could be better.
Historically, I don't think that mental health has been portrayed very well in film or television, but I don't necessarily think that that's the director's or the writer's problem. I think that's just been the lack of information around mental health and around things like depression or schizophrenia and bipolar being so limited. But I think as we gain more information about these illnesses, we will see a larger and more accurate representation of these sorts of problems.
Generally, mental health is just exaggerated, stereotyped, and sometimes even romanticized. Most of the time, it follows a stereotype. Depression and anxiety are the biggest things that film and TV like to cover. And it's usually oh, this person has depression and don't want to get out of bed. They're just sad all the time. They push away people around them. And it shows the stereotype of the sad, gloomy person wearing dark clothes, staying in bed all day. But they don't show the people that have to deal with it. The people that just have no choice but to get out of bed and deal with it in their everyday lives. And they just don't show the real thing. They show the romanticized and the entertaining thing that an audience or a viewer would like to see.
In terms of, the representation of positive mental health in films, I can't really say I can think of many examples where people with mental health struggles are presented positively, other than maybe in some scenarios where the character begins really anxious, really unsure about what they want, their path that they're going through, and then at the end they develop as a person. They're less anxious. But other than that, it doesn't stray too far away from the main storyline.
One I have seen is Girl Interrupted. It has Angelina Jolie and Winona Ryder in it. So in those films, Winona Ryder, her character Susanna, has borderline personality disorder, which is something I understand I have. And watching Susanna and how her borderline personality disorder kind of develops and how it is developed, it was really easy for me to communicate with, and the characterization of her is very good and I could understand what was going on. And then you have your other character, who I can't remember the character's name, but played by Angelina Jolie. Her character's a little bit not really understandable. You don't really know what's wrong with her, but I can really feel like that she's a realistic character, like somebody like her would end up in like a mental institution where this has taken place. I feel like that's a good example.
I think that BoJack Horseman is a good representation of mental health in TV. It not only shows the effects that it can have and how it can lead to antisocial behaviour, and is almost sort of used as an explanation for why this character can perhaps do bad things, but it obviously also doesn't show it as a justification, and I think that is very important for people to see and understand about mental health.
The one movie that does come to mind, and there is only one, it's called Rain Man, and that was made with Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman. This was years and years ago though, and it portrayed a character that was very accurate, but you didn't necessarily hate the character, but there was a lot of obstacles that they had to overcome. There was a brother who had, I believe it was autism, and there was another brother with no mental health issues, and this brother had to take care of the one with autism, and it was like this long, lengthy process, and it was accurate because even though there was struggles and you got frustrated with the character with autism, you kind of understood them in a way, and they became more likable throughout the story.
I think it's very important to remember that TV shows and movies which show and portray mental health should not be taken as factual, as a lot of the time they're based on unique cases, such as The Beautiful Mind, based off of a story, a true story, of a mathematician that ends up developing schizophrenia. Though it's a wonderful storyline and it's an amazing watch, it does not really show the truth of schizophrenia, of how perhaps ordinary it is. Same as 13 Reasons Why. They follow the main character who has depression and then ends up committing suicide. I feel like it's not true of most cases of depressed individuals who end up taking their own lives.
I think a bad interpretation of mental health in film or television has got to be 13 Reasons Why. I think the suicide scene for Hannah is just justification enough, really, because I think if someone who has mental health problems or even could be exposed to something like that, it could be incredibly detrimental, and they could eventually copy what she does, which has been shown by people doing. But you know, the way that she's like seen as this martyr and she gets her own back on everyone that did this to her, it's incredibly poor writing, and it can very easily lead to someone who is in a similar situation doing a very similar thing. And I think that the fact that show's still going on is ridiculous.
Shutter Island and Split and all the other films with like a character that has multiple personality disorder, they're all so exaggerated. Split has like so many different personalities and they're all so different, and in reality it's not like that. It's not like the person with multiple personality disorder has to hide away from the world so the world doesn't see so many different like sides of them, the personalities that are in them, and it's not like that. it's most of the time it's pretty minor, and like there's like slight different changes in their behavior, or I don't know much about it, but I assume it's not as massive as having a person that acts like a 9-year-old and a person that acts like an old lady. It's exaggerated to make it entertaining and not to make it real, you know?
I believe men's mental health isn't exactly talked about enough in TV shows. I mean, on a low level, it talks, in most shows, in a comedic way, they show the male character going through a scenario where they're anxious about a crush they have on a girl, like in, for example, Sex Education, which showed, someone who wasn't ready to experience sexual feelings or sexual, pleasure. And I think it was good because it showed a realistic idea of, what someone's brain would be like through that scenario. I don't think at all that they represent men's emotions in films in other ways than that they blast things, they blow things up, they're always saving the day, and that they don't really take that much away with them.
I feel like it's portrayed really like homicide, kind of really like murdery, like men in film and TV, when they have a mental illness, they're usually like serial killers or murdery, and that's their mental health is usually like a cover-up for why they do all these bad things, which is a little uncreative, if I say so myself. It's quite uncreative, because when you have women who have mental illnesses in film and TV, it's usually played for like, not like as a joke, that's what I mean, as like, it's like a plot, and they're usually really passive and like calm, and they're not like killers, they don't freak out. But men are usually serial killers, and like I have two examples, which is Jack from The Shining. I think it's Jack. Yeah, it's Jack. Is it Jack? I have no idea, but the character from The Shining who almost kills his wife with an axe. And then from Split, the character from Split, who has multiple personality disorder. No, dissociative identity disorder. I feel like that's not really a good representation of what male mental health is, because not all men who have mental illnesses are murderous and sociopaths and serial killers. They're real people, and we don't talk about that enough. We don't talk about their experiences enough, which I think is a shame, because a lot of men will see themselves with these illnesses on TV and characters and feel like, well, I don't act like that, I'm not like that. That obviously means like my mental health or my mental illness isn't real enough, it's not truthful enough, which is a shame, and I feel like it really needs to be improved.
I think that men's mental health in TV and film is also improving, and I think that's one to do with, again, the information and how we are becoming more aware of mental health, but also because of our loss of this idea of masculinity and the idea of being a man and having to not expose your feelings and stuff. And I think as we start to move away from that traditional sense of masculinity, we will see interpretations of men being strong, opening up about their emotions, and I think that's incredibly important thing to have in our media, and especially our mainstream media.
If you are struggling with a mental health illness and want to talk to someone about it, then call Mind on 020 8215 2243 or Calm on 0800 58 58 58.